hard work you have been doing for the past 20 minutes. I knew when I said 11:50, it was only 30 minutes. And in the schedule, you're supposed to have 1.5 some hours, actually. I knew it, but it's okay. Sometimes working under pressure is very fantastic. And we also do not forget our online friends. They also work hard. 2 groups has been working. Ariba, do you know how many people is in total? 20-something? 22. So there are 22 of them online, actually. And they have been doing the same process as what you did, just by virtual. How do they do it? I do not know. I know they have been fantastically great. They can see me probably. And we have been co-designing everything from the beginning. But in this last session, I would like to do an executive decision. The executive decision is the order of presentation. So I will make the order of presentation. First, we'll have Helen's group to present. And then we'll have an online presentation by Joseph's group. And then the third group presenting will be group online, Alessandro's group. Okay? And the last presentation will be Loretta's group, not my group. All right? So the first to come is Helen's group. The second is online, Joseph's group. The third one is Alessandro group online, and the last is Loretta's group. Okay? The last executive, only one executive decision. Okay? Others is co-designing. If I may invite, who is going to report back, Helen? Maria.
Thank you, everyone. Our breakout room was about science policy interface. So half an hour was so not enough to talk about this huge theme that as a scientific community, we do not have like the opportunity to discuss a lot together. So we did our best. Okay, great. So it was a huge discussion because, of course, we have all very different background, and to keep a common denominator of communication, it's difficult, but this is pretty much what came out from the first discussion on what do we want to achieve, and in particular, what is that we really need for our coast. And we all identified a big gap between the outcome of scientific projects and then their actual outcome in policymaking. So it will be great to create some formalized space to discuss this kind of process. And in particular, it came out a lot, the necessity of a shared effort / the funding, but we're not talking about this now, between different administrations that can be on so many levels, and maybe the necessity to approach more an open technology approach. But yeah, these were just the points. So how to create and formalize this space to work together on the outcome of science at policy level. We reflected a lot on the role of ECOP as a stakeholder of ourselves, because actually it came out how we are the biggest stakeholder of this process and the biggest actors in demanding coastal resilience effectiveness, in particular at policy level. So the idea will be to try and establish formal ECOP advisory boards to be able to gain visibility and recognition at policy level. And this could be done only by engaging different kind of stakeholder and ECOP, so different disciplines, but also different sectors, such as policies, universities, but also ECOP present at local community level. This with the biggest objective of forming transdisciplinary working group, which is such a big challenge. We talk a lot about the importance of transdisciplinary working group, but we fail sometimes to actually create this effort. How is this connected to the main cost predict framework? Well, we skipped this because it was pretty obvious for us, because all we've been talking about, it's inside the cost predict framework. So, and the time was so limited, so we really need to make the cut here. How? What will be the concrete activities? So, well, as already mentioned, the idea was to manage to create formal ECOP advisory boards. And we tried to elaborate on that. So it will be functional to create a list of shared value, to create a common ground also between different disciplines that often talk different languages. So it's so important, it will be so important to take some time to discuss this together, and establish also a term of reference. So what kind of transdisciplinary team we are trying to create, which seems obvious, but it's most of the time not so obvious. We also discussed the possibility of pushing internships and exchange occasions. This with the main objective of scaling this project, like the scale of the project, it's very much flexible, because the idea is, of course, to rely to the international ECOP network and the national node to be able to reach most level possible. But we tried to elaborate what could be the smallest team of ECOP to create, but might take a little bit more time for that. But the idea is that, of course, good practices in one place are not best practices everywhere. So it's extremely important to create these spaces to share lessons learned at regional level and discuss how this can be implemented at global level. And well, who will be the main project partners? We kind of tried to identify some, of course, in the private sectors, academic institutions, and local communities, but then we kind of screwed that, because the point of a transdisciplinary group is to create the most diverse board possible. So the main project partners will be everyone. So I think that's all for our working group. Please feel free to comment on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Anybody has any burning question before I let her go? Online, if there is any? No? Okay.
All right, I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen really quick.
Yeah, so while listening to your summary and like having that idea kind of come together in my mind through what you shared with us, I thought, so after we developed the list of values and the TOR to establish that framework for the group, I think the next thing would be to organize a meetup. So it would be now to incorporate ECOP events in every single coastal meeting, major coastal meeting around the world. And then that way it can just continue, you know, so beyond virtual, but to allow for that coming together, because we all know the power of it. So the same way we have this voice to be able to talk about coastal resilience as ECOPs, we can also use it to demand that we, this is something institutionalized. Yeah. A big one, but that's the thought.
Yeah, no, absolutely. More of a comment. So I don't think it needs an answer. Thank you.
Make sure you submit sessions at the big events, like I don't know if there is one at the EGU of ECOPS in coordination with the Decade ECOP program. The Ocean Sciences is coming up, that will open. So make sure that you put your trademark ECOP session for coastal resilience, for something else, but ECOP session.
So, yeah, I think that we need also to ask the organizations not to ask registration fees. This is a very important one because in Europe, there's no way to get rid of the registration fee. So we have to go, as a DCCCR, we have to take it as our obligation that we go through UNESCO IOC and we ask for the ECOP scientists in the ECOP session not to pay for, it's not only registration, sorry. When you submit an abstract, you have to pay online, otherwise they don't accept your abstract. And that is not good. So that's the very important part. We have to sign this into our Arriva. Yeah, so has to be one item for me and Willy to work and the board of course predict. We have to ask for the waiving of the abstract cost submission.
Yeah, that is easier. The registration is difficult because ECOPs have to be registered. And who is an ECOP? Somebody else might say, I'm an ECOP, so I don't pay. So it's difficult. There's no database of who the ECOPs are. But for the abstract, is easier.
Were asking us to if we could pay for their abstract, and that's not possible. We could, for the amount of the money and the people that were asking, we could just pay, but we can't. For example, my university cannot pay on an abstract of somebody else. It's too complicated to explain. You can imagine the University of Bologna that pays for,
But thank you, Nadia, so much for bringing this up because I think it's such a big theme for ECOPs that we do not manage to discuss a lot, but also in our group internship opportunity came up as a team, and I think this is another thing for which costs are really a thing to be discussed to be sure we are equally accessible to all ECOPs around the world. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, Nadia, I think we probably have a strong ECOP team after today's meeting, hopefully. Yeah, not just me alone. Okay, thank you, Team Helen and Maria. Thank you for the participation. I would now like to invite the online team, Team Joseph, to be with us. Eloise?
All right.
Eloise,
Yes,
can
I'm
you?
right here. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, but
Awesome.
You are coming up, huh? You have a slide on?
Is there an
Okay.
echo? I'm sorry.
All right, go ahead.
All right. So for our group, the project that we want to achieve is to prioritize actions in enhancing coastal resilience by collaborating with scientists, managers, policymakers, communities, and private sectors. The group wanted to also redefine and map coastal areas by making sure the boundaries, ecological conditions, and the vulnerability factors is being defined, especially in assessing high-risk erosion zones, flood-prone areas, and biodiversity hotspots to determine resilience strategies. Basically, to really seek through these kind of areas and not make it missed out on, especially when it comes to mapping. Developing regional indices and conduct geographic assessments to track coastal resilience trends, analyzing coastal characteristics and evaluate how weather patterns impact coastal stability, and using this to assess economic activities such as fishing, tourism, shipping industry, and their effect on resilience, identifying sustainable economic practices that balances development and environmental protection, integrate key resilience indicators such as erosion rates, sea level rise, storm frequency, and social economic vulnerability, and also um, expanding coastal resilience and education across U.S. territories with interactive programs on shoreline changes and resilience projects, making sure that real world examples being shown, not only in the regions that we know of, but also identifying it with comparison in other places to making sure that influencing policies and interventions being properly made, and using this to categorize, prioritize resilience by each region and developing these targeted resilience into planning frameworks. This is for our number one. May continue, is that okay? And so for number two, who do we want to target and what kind of stakeholders? And the target that we want to go ahead and focus on is our decision makers who sets policies, who have supported advisors such as scientists and legal experts, who provide data and legal guidance, lawyers, planners design solutions, and of course, our business and tourism sectors, which balances economic growth and coastal protection, our NGOs, research institutions, and universities. Um, and especially the important part in making sure that all of these happen, of course, is our indigenous leaders and funding agencies. With that one, we wanted to measure our resilience target of government agencies and helping them to create needing concrete measures. Especially when it comes to scientists, it requires them to create a standardized indices. Policymakers need evidence-based data. Basically, they won't make us align to the policy if they don't believe in it. So making sure the evidence data is right there and having this to benefit businesses and marine workers. And of course, making all of this good is science communication. It's always bridging the policy science and making sure that the policies are identified as scientific evidence that it is creating an impact to our community. How is this connected to the main coast project framework? The idea is to integrate scientific research, create community input, and early warning signs into a unified coastal protection framework like Coast Predict. By targeting specific regions for observation modeling, we want to use technology to understand ecosystems. They want to creating tools that can be easily shared and replicated across different regions. So that, for example, if one idea comes to another, we want to make sure that the tool that they are using, we want to use it too to make sure it allow us to create a much more like robust development based on the local conditions and making sure that these coastal solutions is sustainable. These are some of our listed concrete activities from our online session group, the stakeholder engagement, policymakers, community members, scientists, having a literature review to back up our evidence to the policymakers, making sure that, yes, there is a past evidence-based data. And so we want to go ahead and use this and review it as a way that we are updating this review as well. Another one is policy alignment. To making sure that is happening, creating evidence-based approach, data collection, tsunami preparedness, This one was really interesting. They shared that they want to develop a process for analyzing tsunami predictions and assessing their impact on coastal resilience, providing actionable insights to guide decision making together with their stakeholders. And for future impact, they want to consider this project work to be resilient over the next 10 years, leading it to last and create improvements in coastal prediction. Number 5, what is the scale of this project? The project aims to have a global impact with a focus on scalability through pilot cases, making sure that if we're going to be reaching out to a global impact, the regional scale will go ahead and address to local issues and challenges. So starting small. And by that, they are going to be designing a methodological framework for both global and regional. And this will create a coastal resilience and adaptation. This will offer scientific insights, policy direction, and financial support because they will be using this as a localized adaptation strategy. The methodology is actually designed for not only for policymakers and stakeholders to understand, but also communities and at-risk communities, people who would like to know more of what the project is so that they can be involved and to make sure that once they understand what the project is, then they are able to help out in the global and regional efforts as well. And so who will be the main project partners? The main project partners will be MPAs, the national universities and NGOs, national oceanographic institutions, universities and research centers, public and private partnerships, and meteorological station. I know we have more, and so these are the main ones that they have actually pointed out together as part of their stakeholders. And that is all for their presentation. And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for 30 minutes of extensive. That's a lot of information to take in. If there is anybody who wants to give comments, suggestions from the floor or online. Nope. Yeah.
Consider this, but you have the full support of Global Coast Network, right? So you can think about your global aspects within the global coast areas, that pilot sites and so on, and also cost predict for the part that, menu of solutions or anything that we did discuss these days.
Thank you, Nadia. Anything else? No? If no, I would. Thank you very much, Group Joseph. I call it Group Joseph, but thank you very much for presenting. Third one will be also an online group. Group Alessandro. I do not know who is presenting.
Yeah, here
Alessandro?
we are. Can you hear
Finally,
me?
we can see you, Alessandro.
You can.
Yeah.
Oh
All right.
my God. It's a pity to not be there with you in person, so I give you a virtual hug to all of you. I will share my screen. Okay. Yes, thank you. I want to thank you all the group for the hard work that was carried out in a really short time. We tried to develop a project with the goal to engage young generations in coastal resilience and, of course, in the ocean decade, to make them familiar to the STEM topics and also value the local knowledge. Our targets are children and the young science community, so ECOPs, us, that are we today in this event. The approach that we want to take, it is the community-based participatory research. So children in practice interact with ECOPs, with the science community. in what kind of manner. So we have two paths. One is about literacy and the other is about citizen science. In the first, we thought that we can make children going back to the roots, engaging the families and local stakeholders also. So going back through generation to collect this local knowledge, this information, and then they can share them, of course, information about environmental changes, coastal changes, and this kind of topics. And then they can share, so like present these challenges, these changes with scientists, who then will explain the reasons of these changes, so why we are in this situation. So here we have the literacy. In the second activity, we have the citizen science that it is carried out with the support of ECOPs, of scientists. It is more about technology, so we thought that we can like make children create some homemade monitoring instruments or games or simplified modeling tools, but really simplified. And the scale is, of course, global, starting from a few pilot cases around the globe, maybe starting from seeds. And of course, we have a local community, children, and scientists all around the world. So it will be very easy to scale it all around. About the partners, we didn't talk about that. But of course, they really depend on the kind of local communities. But of course, we can have a wide impact also on this kind of topic. So I thank you very much for your attention, and I thank you all the group for the work again.
Thank you, Alessandro. One slide, I really like it. One slide, but you have covered most of it. Anybody wants to give any comment, encouragement, ideas, funding?
Aperitivo.
Aperitivo? Yeah. No? Really? Good?
Thank you, Alessandro and group. Great ideas. I do support personally, at least, the idea with STEM, working with STEM. That's a natural connection because they are the ECOPs to be soon. And you want to encourage people, students from STEM, to think of careers in ocean, anything related to ocean. So that is a very good connection. And also it is something that would facilitate, I think, funding because, you know, it goes to some other pots of money, again, possibly in foundations and so on, because it touches upon education. Thank you.
Thank you, Willy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any more online comments? No? Okay, thank you very much, Alessandro. Thank you. See you again somewhere in person soon. So last but not least, Loretta's group want to present. It's also on citizen science and literacy themed. Now, no slides.
And because we want, we need a big funding. That's why we don't want to do it. No. All right, so we. Yeah, so our, in terms of what, can I put it? All right, so our, okay.
The funding is coming, so we're going to put some slides.
Yes, so
see,
we want to, yes.
You see the power of funding?
Yes. They said if they don't see, they wouldn't give us funding. So we want to show.
I don't know if Alessandro is still listening. I heard that you have a program for children up to which age? The children? We are the children. Huh? STEM education, so we go up to high school. Do we go up to high school, Alessandro?
Well, our first idea was primary school.
Okay, because we should elaborate this a little bit. We have as DCC Coastal Resilience, we have this spring, in April, we have done the first course on oceanography and climate for a high school with citizen science. And actually Viviana has just installed a sea level station in Rimini, and the data are already transmitted to EMONET. So the high school kids, students, the high school students in the next few weeks will start to download the data on the sea level of this sensor, and there will be others. So maybe, Alessandro, we need to be in touch with you for this course because it is transferable, in my opinion, to elementary school. And there is a financing organization that is called Rimini Blue Lab.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, so just to summarize what we also came up with, basically we are also looking at engaging the young ones. We give various examples to be able to observe primarily the physical chemistry and biodiversity. And we came up with ideas also that the main thing is that we want not only to focus on the problem also, but success stories where things have been implemented and there have been successes. We need to also tell those stories. So we need to engage the communities involved to be able to monitor this and share the stories. And so issues like coastline monitoring, mangrove, both deforestation and restoration areas need to be monitored. So our idea basically was around similar to that of the CoastNap idea, where we get people in the communities to collect data and then share. And then we can use that data then to validate our models. We can use that data to tell the story of what is happening. And then in terms of those who would work with, we looked at schools, universities, and then also local agencies, and then the ECOPs all around the world. Wherever we have ECOPs in the theme, we use them to develop this project. And then this would, in terms of, like I already mentioned, this will contribute to better our models and also help us to build early warning system. Because as we said that for us to do certain things, we need long-term data at least for a year or 2 or 3 to be able to take good decisions. Then, in terms of key activities that we'll be doing, we talked about in terms, if we are going to use this community, these schools, we need to develop models that we can use to train them. For example, if we go to a community, we want to be able to monitor water quality like this. We have a small toolkit. We train the children, we provide them, and then they are able to do those monitoring and upload the data or share the data. So models are as simple as possible that they can easily use. The teachers can, for example, if you are dealing with schools, the teachers can easily train them to be able to use that. And then Yes, so those are the kind of things that we talk of, even developing the toolkits themselves, simple toolkits that they can use in these activities. Yes, and we focus on the good practices that can be shared from places that there have been success stories. For example, the CoastNap, there have been success stories that we can build on, not starting all over. And we said that in terms of where the project will be global, we agreed, but we'll start with case studies. For example, we're not limited to only the Coast Predict side, but at least we have that to start with. We choose 3 or 4 places, start with, and then we scale it up as we gain confidence. Yes, I think I've already mentioned the people that will be engaging the schools, the public institutions, and the local authorities, environmental protection agencies. I think basically that's what we talked about in our group, if I'm missing something.
Thank you, Philip, for the presentation. Yes.
Thank you very much, facilitator, and I think for all the groups and the presentations. I think I want to emphasize 2 points. The first one is like the journalistic approach to say if it can't breathe, then if it can't bleed, then it can't sell. So that's what they say in journalism. So the story must be ugly for it to sell. So I think that's what was coming strongly in that group. So we need to be very careful about profiling good practice cases so that we can learn. The second part is around what maybe across the week, what I don't see coming strongly is this idea of detaching the hinterland from the coast. So yes, I know Coast Predict is going to talk about the coast mainly, but the hinterland, by hinterland I mean what is happening inland Italy has got a bearing on what is happening on the coastline. So when I talk about maybe STEM and maybe primary school or secondary school, the bigger question is what is it that we are doing for schools that are not coastal? So it's not only about when these kids visit the coast, then they start drowning, but it's about knowing the impact of their activities inland that result in the coast. So I think we really need to think seriously about a project that has to bring the hinterland and how it interfaces with the coast. Because now projects that are focusing on cost predict and cost this, cost that, they are almost like assuming there is no hinterland. It's like the river starts flowing where it enters the delta. That is not correct. So there are a lot of things that actually are happening in the hinterland that I'm saying I did not see them coming through strongly. There's no harm in cost predict sitting a project in the hinterland and try to have the kids understand how the activities in the catchment, in the deep of the middle of Italy or any other European country or African country or wherever, have got an impact on the coast. Plastic pollution, for example, it travels kilometers, thousands of kilometers in the channels, and it ends up in the sea. So if the schools in the hinterland don't understand that, then their behavior can be problematic. If the agricultural communities don't understand eutrophication in terms of their elements of fertilizer applications in the hinterland and how it affects the estuaries and the sea, then it can be problematic. So I'm actually advocating for programs. There could be 1 or 2 that are focusing basically on the interaction of the hinterland and the coast.
Thank you. Nadia.
So, Godwell, thanks for reminding us this important concept. But Coast Predict is built around the connection between the inland and the water. So if you look at the definition of our area of interest, it's considering the land as far as the source of pollution arise. As far as the river, or the catchment of the river, most of our climate modeling is done with catchments, which collect all the water and bring it. So maybe for educational purposes, we have to consider that better. But for the science part of Coast Predict, this is exactly our frontier. And collection of data is something that is going across the land-sea interface. So we are actually the program that started most decisively to look at the problem in its integration across from land to shelf, and we say where the waters of land origin have impact. So this is in our program thing. So for maybe, however, the educational part of this concept has not been fully explored. And so we need to aware that there is a strong movement in science to see everything integrated across this interface. And the last point is another thing. We have been in touch several times, but we haven't been able to materialize. There is an international organization that is called Source to Sea. And we need to maybe strengthen that connection with our programs. It might, they're very important thinker. We presented twice to their international conference, Coast Predict. They're willing to work, so they're a resource. They're already a big network, Source to Sea.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, so along these lines, I want to suggest a particular activity for schools. I would call it, the connectivity to connect, to have sister schools from, you can have an upstream one, connecting not only to the coastal one, but to other coastal ones through the ocean currents. As for instance, was mentioned, you have Trinidad and Tobago, okay, connecting to the Amazon River, so you can have schools in those areas, because this is fascinating. Kids and, well, actually everybody is always fascinated because people don't understand what oceanography is about. But to say that a pollutant or whatever, or fish larva or whatever can come from so far away and influence the area is fascinating. So this gives rise to the understanding of the circulation and the need for this approach that coasts are not, we have the global coast concept, right? Coasts are not alone, but they connect to other coasts and even upstream.
It means we have a collection of schools around the world that is working on same projects, getting new same data, competing with each other. So that creates a very good connection between nations, different bodies of water. Yeah, we'll take that into consideration. We don't have much more time, unfortunately. But what will happen is that, thank you very much for the proposals. We'll collect them. We will keep you in touch, but please do reply our email when we write to you again, when the times to do hard work. This is the easy work. 30 minutes is the easy work. So the development into a project after consideration with other partners that I have here, then we'll come back to you and we'll develop this project in 3 to 4 months' time. Hopefully we have a full proposal that we can submit under Coast Predict as a ECOP project itself, hiding under Coast Predict. That's our aspirations. And next year in the assembly, we'll declare we have already a UN project. Hopefully that's our target. Thank you very much for participating. I would like to invite Nadia. Yeah, you have something to show us as well.
I have something to
yes.
show.
Please tell us.
So